In this exercise, I'm going to create a new TED Commander location that adds together or combines all the data from two of my existing locations. I have two locations that I have called Building 1 New York and Building 2 New York. And you see this is Building 2 New York. I have another location called Building 1 New York. Each has its own dashboard. I want to see the totals of those under one location name, and I want to see the subloads under that same location name. To do this, I have to be very familiar with the entire installation. And since these two locations are fairly simple, I have just documented the loads in a text file just for my reference. If I wanted to make those notes right now, I would go to Locations and select my existing location, Building 1 New York, and scroll down to the bottom, and I can see all the MTUs that are associated with it, all the spiders that are associated with it. The same applies for Building 2. It only has one MTU associated with it. I've recorded that information in my text file, and again, you may have a master list that shows a complete installation if it's a large facility. So from the locations selection, this is in my top left drop down, I go to locations. I'm going to click the add button to create a new location. I'm going to call this New York Total, and I'm going to select the plus button at the bottom to add MTUs and spiders, and you'll see that all of the MTUs and spiders that are on my account are accessible. So you can select them by name or by serial number, and you can search for them with Control F if you have many monitoring points, as I do on my account. So I've added the two MTUs, if you see at the bottom, and I'm going to add the spider loads. There's actually two ACs on this account. Okay, there's the AC. Furnace. The stove. And refer back to my sheet. Oh, I need to add the dryer and the water heater. So you see I'm just clicking the plus to add each load. And then I search by selecting Control F. Of course, if the list was short, then the monitoring points would be easier to find. So there, I've done it. I've added all the loads that were associated with my two locations to this one location. And I would go in and fill in the rest of the location information. So this is on 123 Broad Street, and New York, New York. And it's very important that you include the energy plan in the new location. You'll see that by default there's not a specific energy plan selected. It's just using the default information or default energy plan. I've got a New York energy plan saved, so I'm going to select that as well. And now on my dashboard, I still have my two original locations, New York 1 and New York 2, but I've got a new location called New York Total. And since I have just created the location, the data begins to accrue from this moment forward. It's not going to show a historical combination of the data. So in 2 days from now, the 28th, I'll be able to look back at a full day's worth of data on the 27th, and my total from New York would be combined totals of New York 1 and New York 2. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you create a new location is you may need to change the MTU type. As you can see, these two MTUs are set as net, and both of these MTUs are connected to the main service of the buildings, so they are correctly labeled as net. If one of these MTUs was connected to a sub panel or a sub load in the building, I would want to change it to standalone. The difference between selecting net or standalone is that net monitoring devices will be added to the totals on the calendar. I'm going to leave this one set at net. And you can change that standalone or net selection within each location. In other words, either of these MTUs could have been set to standalone in the previous location, but I need to check my installation documentation to be sure that they're correctly labeled for this location total, and in this case they are, and all these spider loads are correctly labeled as standalones. Oftentimes you could have MTUs that are set as standalones in their original locations that are set as net in their original locations that may actually be standalones. That would be more common. And all the MTU values that are set to net will be added to the total. Anything that's set as standalone is considered a subload, and you'll see them shown here on the pie chart. A better representation of that would be back at my original location. And there's my standalone loads after they've acquired some data. And all of the loads, whether they're set to standalone or net, can be graphed, can be selected to have the data exported. For example, if I go to graphing now and I select New York total and I select that I want to see subloads, then I have all of those same subloads that I brought over from the existing locations available to be set for graphing. Same applies for export. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you.